Hello, my name is Tony, and this is my latest video on one of my inverters, the MotorMaster 1750 watt. I've made a few improvements to it. In the past, I was only able to run 400 watts, I suppose, out of the 800 watt heater, so it was pretty good. It worked for a couple hours anyways, but there's been some upgrades to that since. I've always had to use my inverters kind of outside on a stool or something, and that's never going to work during a power failure in bad weather, so I found a way for me anyways to keep having the power on and keep the inverters dry. This is my basement door, and I have that booster cable hanging off of it. It had those clamps on at the end, sort of like booster clamps, but at the end of the last test I noticed that one of the terminals was hot, and so I figured that was probably where I was losing some of the power. It was just those like alligator giant clamps. I thought it would work like a charm, being for jumper cables and for batteries, but it didn't work. Anyways, so I take my terminals, pass them out the cat door there, which works for me. Open up the door, go outside. Now I have a battery box here. Still can't really call it a battery bank. There's only really a pair. It's kind of a battery pair. I have room in the box here for a couple more batteries, but don't have them yet, so it's just storing some other stuff. Anyways, pull out the cat door cable, and on the battery bank I have two terminals that are across the battery bank. Anyways, there's two clear ones, so then I put one terminal on. Do the same for the positive. Usually you get a little spark, but it's not usually very bad. Have to make some adjustments on that clamp. Anyways, now I can close up the box. Connections made inside. Cables weatherproof. Booster cables are weatherproof. Oops, I left the inverter on. Shame on me. Anyways, 12.8 volts. Power's on, power's off. I have my So Happy heater, my famous heater that I used in the last test. Running both sides of the heater, and we are at 10.7 volts. That's not going to last. It's already down to 10.6. We're running about 50% of this thing's capability, but with much less battery power than recommended. I think they asked for 4 batteries. I got room for 5, so upgrades are coming. So there it is, running full 800 watts. It should be in alarm. Remember in the last video you could hear? I'll be quiet for a sec. So that's in alarm. I am going to turn off one side. There we go. We're back to one side. And it should go up in voltage. Here we're at 11.4, so it should be able to run like that for quite a while. Already dropping a volt there, decimal volt. It's running it's like 10% or 20% of its capability. So happy for me, I am enjoying the electricity, possibly when the grid goes out. Inside the house, keeping the inverter dry. And if I open the door, it actually opens inside, so it won't get rained on. And yeah, I have another use for the cat door. If it's really cold, as you see, it's probably a little drafty there. You could stuff a towel or a blanket in there just to keep the wind from going through, and you know, the cat will have to ask to come in and out. But yeah. So if I get more batteries, I should be able to run that thing for a lot longer. So anyways, those are improvements I've made on my power inverter. Each time I seem to be getting a little bit more use out of it, or a little bit higher power and a little bit better, closer to their recommendations, but no longer in alarm. But if you remembered that sound that the last video made, it was quite annoying, and people were asking me, do you have to listen to that? Unfortunately, yes was the answer, but I opened up the inverter and ran it in alarm, found the buzzer that was in there, and I just put my finger over the tip of the buzzer and it got a fair bit quieter. So I put a little bit of hot glue on the buzzer itself, and it seems to have silenced it completely. So now what will happen is the inverter will run right down to its 10.5 volt cutout. It cuts out at 10.5 volts to protect the battery bank or batteries from going into over discharge, which will give you a lot more charge cycles if you use it that way. So anyways, I'd like to thank you for watching that video, and have a great day.